guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our next college football bowl preview and picks, video 2. And we're making this the day after Christmas here. So hopefully everyone had a Merry Christmas. And make sure you hit that subscribe button before we get into it. But before we get into the games, Ty winning the first picks right now. I'm down 5 going into these last 25 games here. So, I got to really catch up here and make some bold picks. But, to you, obviously, having some good picks last week.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows bowl games are not easy to pick. There's a lot of elements that go into them. Obviously, most of them are single-digit spreads or less than a touchdown, so it's hard to pick. Obviously, they're meant to be close matchups. So I'm happy with 10-4. We'll see if I can do that going forward. Obviously, we're gonna see soon. I'm already off to a bad start this week, so.
And, speaking of that bad start, we got both of us going with Ball State and absolutely getting obliterated in this bowl game. I really thought a MAC team's got to win eventually. And I thought this would, be a pretty good matchup for Ball State. But unfortunately, getting blown out doesn't really help.
Nope. Yeah, that's what happens when you just ride with your school's conference and don't actually research the game like you should. As obviously Ball State got absolutely blown out, and that just proves more that the MAC is not good.
And Monday, when you're seeing this video, we will be at this game, both of us. Not doing like a Michigan Ohio State video for this game because it probably won't be as good because it's kind of a no-name game. But maybe we'll think of that. Maybe we'll see. But I think Western Michigan really has the upper hand here. They will be the first MAC team to win. Who knows with the spread? I just think with Western playing for something, this is a big game for them. Winning a bowl game, they got everyone playing. And then the storyline to watch is, Nevada and their backup quarterback making his first career start. How is he going to handle that, especially in a bowl game, the biggest game of the year, you could say, for Nevada, and you're without your best player. But I do think this will be a very high-scoring and competitive game, but Western's going to come away in the end.
Yeah, the line took a huge shift. I think it was Nevada by about a touchdown when it opened up, but now with Carson Strong, Nevada's quarterback, sitting out to pursue his NFL career, the line shifts all the way to Western by a touchdown because Nevada has a brand new backup quarterback. And I just think Western's offense is going to be able to put up some points. And I don't think Nevada with a backup quarterback is going to be able to keep up. I think Western, they should win. You never know with them, but I'm going to go with my school here. And I think they run away with this and cover the spread.
And on Tuesday, we got Houston and Auburn. And our first disagreement of the week, I'm going with Houston because, they're 11-2, coming off a championship game loss to Cincinnati, which everyone thought, all right, they're going to get upset. This is the game. And, Cincinnati just absolutely obliterated them. Solidify their case. But I think it's going to be how are you going to respond? And I think this is a great way to respond, going against a 6-6 Auburn team that took Alabama to the wire, had that game won. But, I think Auburn is a lot better than 6-6, to their credit. Just one of those teams that, losing close games, unfortunately. But I'm going with Houston because of Marcus Jones. He's a great corner this year, but people don't talk about punt return and kick returns, and he's 2 touchdowns for each. That's just something, a little stat, that may change and differ throughout the game. And come, late game, are they going to kick it to him if it's only a 1-possession game? Just little things like that are kind of why it matters to know those things.
Yeah, I'm going with Auburn here cautiously, playing without Bo Nix, who just announced, I believe he's transferring to Oregon. But I think this means a lot to Auburn, despite having a disappointing 6-6 season. It's their head coach's first season. Try out a new quarterback in this game and kind of build some momentum under a new head coach. So I do think they'll be pretty motivated in this game. And I think their defense will be the difference in this game. I don't think Houston's going to be able to score enough on that SEC defense that ranked towards the top of the conference this year. So I think Auburn has just enough offense and they win a close game, but I like the under also.
And later after that game, you got Air Force and Louisville in the Surf Pro First Responders Bowl. And I'm going with Louisville because Malik Cunningham has been one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC this year, but it's getting so overlooked because it's, on a 6-6 team. And, when you got names like DJ Ukulele and Sam Hartman ahead of you, just to name a few in that conference, no one's really going to talk about you. So I think his play is going to be a little too much for that Air Force defense, and I'm riding with Louisville.
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting game. You got two kind of different schemes from these teams. Louisville scores pretty fast on offense. They have like you said, they have Malik Cunningham at quarterback, and they have a high-flying offense. Obviously, Air Force is a service academy, so you know what you're going to get with them. Very long drives, primarily runs, and I think that's going to kind of frustrate Louisville. And my main reason for going with Air Force is it seems like service academies don't really lose in bowl games. It seems like they have a pretty solid record in bowl games. So despite everything I just said, that's pretty much the main reason I'm going with Air Force here. So I think they get their 10th win.
And an interesting game here, you got Mike Leach going against his school that he first started coaching at back in 2000. But I think now and back then are two different times. And when you have Will Rogers on your team, a finalist for the Manning Award, which goes to the best passer in the country, I think that's all you need to say. And Texas Tech kind of limped into this bowl game while Mississippi State struggled through the SEC. But I think that SEC experience is really going to be put on the show here, and Mississippi State runs away late.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State wins this game pretty easily. It's no secret, Mike Leach, he does not like Texas Tech. He was not a fan of the way things went down there and him getting fired. So I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder in this game. Texas Tech has a lot of question marks. Interim head coach, not sure who they're going to start at quarterback. Mississippi State has a solid quarterback in Will Rogers, so I think they put up a lot of points and win this game easily.
And you got UCLA, who kind of a little bit of a disappointment this year. Squeaked by with 8-4, so serviceable record. And a team with NC State, that I was kind of high on early in the season, just because, there wasn't really a top team in the ACC this year that, you could count on. But that's why I'm riding with NC State here. I think they finally are going to show up in a big game this year. And, what a better way to close out the year, just because, you got guys that I think need this win, as a program, senior heavy team, but they lost their two top linebackers during the season. And I think the depth is going to hurt them a little bit, but they're going to squeak by. And I honestly might not even take that spread because they might win by 1.
Yeah, I do think this is a really good matchup. Two pretty similar teams, but I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson, this will be a big final game for him potentially as he, decides whether to go to the NFL. But I think this will be a game that he can kind of send off on a good note for UCLA. And I think their offense is slightly better than NC State. And NC State's had too many injuries on defense this year. I think that's going to be the difference. So UCLA has a better quarterback play, and that'll be enough for them to win the game.
And the last game on Tuesday, you got Minnesota, West Virginia in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix. And Tanner Morgan, he's had a lot of success in this offense. And, back when they were really good, when PJ Fleck was the guy, like that guy, he was still here, hanging around and really starting to blossom into what he is today. A rough last year, kind of a mediocre this year. But I think this is going to be a good game for him. I don't think West Virginia really has a stellar defense that's going to stop Minnesota. And that's saying a lot because look at that over-under with 45. They're projecting a low-scoring game, but I think Minnesota is going to win this one pretty easily, probably about 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think the difference is Minnesota's defense. I don't know how much they're going to score Minnesota, but I don't see West Virginia really putting anything together against that defense. That was quietly one of the best defenses in the Big Ten in Minnesota. So, and like you said, Tanner Morgan at quarterback is the more established quarterback of the two teams. So, Minnesota is slightly better on offense and definitely better on defense. Easily going with Minnesota here.
And on Wednesday, we got Maryland, Virginia Tech in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl every year in New York City. I'm going with Maryland because I think the Big Ten's, finally going to start ripping off some wins here. You got Tua's brother, Talua Tagovailoa. And it's been up and down for him this year, but, he's quietly thrown for almost 3,600 yards, and he has 24 touchdowns this year. So, a season to be proud of, but that record at 6-6, not really to be proud of. But if you get a bowl win and the season right, it's definitely a positive going into next year.
Yeah, I know I've said some of the previous games are going to be really good games. This one, I'm not sure. It might be a close game, but you talk about limping into a bowl game, and both of these teams definitely did that. I know Virginia Tech did beat their rival Virginia, but they're coming off firing their head coach and really just disappointing again. Maryland started 4 or 5-0, and they're in the typical Mike Locksley just slide at the end of the season. So I'm going to go with Virginia Tech. I think they're going to turn the ball over less than Maryland, who has had a real problem with that all season against any team with a pulse. And I think that continues here. And I think Virginia Tech pulls the upset here by protecting the ball.
And a game of disappointment in the Cheez-It Bowl. That's pretty much what this game is. Clemson, what were they, 2 to start the year? Yep. Luckily they escaped, and kind of got that 19th ranking just because it's Clemson at 9-3. Not really a strong record on who they played. And then you got Iowa State, who, come on. We know same story every year with the coach. Oh, he's a great coach coming in here, and then they 8-4, 7-5. I do think though that Iowa State will give Clemson a run for their money in this game, but just because Clemson has still that veteran leadership on defense with James Skalski in his final game, I think that's what's going to be the key here. The Clemson's defense is going to stifle Iowa State late.
Yeah, you got to go with Clemson here, but like you said, definitely a game of disappointments. If you told me at the start of the season this would be a bowl matchup, I would have thought it'd be in the college football playoff because I thought Clemson was going to be that good. But I'm going to go with Clemson. They obviously have much more talent than Iowa State. Iowa State always overperforms from what their talent really is, but Clemson has way too much firepower in this game, and I think their defense is really going to shut down Iowa State. I actually like the under, even though it's pretty low at 44.
And the last game for Wednesday, Oregon, Oklahoma. Yes, new coaches galore in this game. But I think Oklahoma, with Caleb Williams, we already know what he can do with Lincoln Riley. But what are they going to do without Lincoln Riley? And I think they're just going to let him sling it. And I think that's why I got to ride with Oklahoma here. Losing Lincoln Riley, who's top 5 college coach right now in the game, it's going to be tough to respond. But I think on his part, he's got great weapons around him to make it easier to respond. And I think Caleb Williams is going to be the reason why Oklahoma comes out victorious.
Yeah, I originally had Oregon when Lincoln Riley left, and then of course Mario Cristobal left Oregon for Miami. So I actually ended up changing back to Oklahoma. I'm picking this as if both head coaches were still there. Just a wash. They're both gone. And Oregon, to me, just got embarrassed in their last game by Utah. And
Twice.
I think that's tough to twice. Yeah. So I think that's tough to bounce back from and really get excited for a bowl game. They thought they were going to be going to the Rose Bowl, winning the Pac-12. Now they're just going to the Alamo Bowl. So, and not to mention Oklahoma's just a better team, in my opinion, than Oregon. So I think Oklahoma wins this game behind Caleb Williams.
And on Thursday, we got Battle of the Carolinas in the Duke Mayonnaise Bowl, North Carolina, South Carolina. And yes, both before we get in the picks here, both coaches have agreed whoever wins gets bathed in mayonnaise instead of Gatorade, which will be something that Twitter will be blowing up on, I'm assuming, after this game, just because who doesn't want to see a coach get, doused in mayonnaise? But talking about this game here, you got Sam Howell, who's, he's going to be a top 10 pick next year. Well, he's been a dud this year. And, I think for South Carolina, it's going to come on defense. And that's what's going to be the key for them. They have a pretty decent defense. Obviously, it gets overlooked because they're in the SEC, but playing against a team, more your speed, I think that's going to be a big factor. And I think that's why South Carolina can pull this one out.
Yeah, I do think South Carolina will cover in this game, but I got to go with North Carolina, the more experienced head coach by a mile, Mac Brown. North Carolina, you got to remember they were a top 10 team to start the season. Obviously, it didn't go their way, but they still have plenty of talent on their team. South Carolina, hats off to them. Great season for them in their first year under head coach Shane Beamer. And I think that program's going in the right direction. But I just don't think they have enough to win this game. Sam Howell needs one more good performance to help his draft stock. I think he'll get it in this game.
At 3, we got Purdue, Tennessee, and we know Tennessee, the quarterback problems all year. It seems like it's been kind of a revolving door, not just this year, but the last few years as well. And then you got Purdue, who pulled off some big upset wins. Michigan State played a few other ranked teams close as well. But I think the Big Ten play compared to the SEC play for Tennessee and Purdue is not even close. So that's why I got to go with Purdue here. I know Tennessee's favored by 5. So I'm definitely hammering that Purdue line for sure. But I don't know. I think Purdue has more to play for here. I know it's Tennessee. What's his coach's name again?
Josh Heupel.
Yeah, it's his first year there. I know he obviously wants to win this bowl game, but I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm surprised Tennessee's favored by 5. That was really surprising to me. Purdue has looked, they've looked like a pretty good team, like a ranked team, much of the season. Obviously, they lost close at Notre Dame. They got blown out by Ohio State, which a lot of teams did. This team is going to torch a lot of teams through the air. I think they're going to torch Tennessee through the air with David Bell, like they did to Michigan State. And I actually think Purdue is the better team just on paper, not to mention the way they've performed on the field in their last few games. And you never can really count on Tennessee in football, it seems like. They always have high expectations, and they always end up 7-5 or 6-6. So I'm going to go with Purdue. I think they have more to play for in this game. I think they're more motivated, and I think they're better.
And something worth knowing, David Bell is he's out. He declared for the draft. So,
Okay.
They do have 2 receivers missing, but either way,
that explains the line.
Yeah. But, all right, first of 6 games, but we're only covering 1 in this video of the New Year's 6, Pitt, Michigan State, and unfortunately, both teams will be without their best players. Pitt, Kenny Pickett, he's done, and Kenneth Walker, he's out, both declaring for the draft early. I get it. It doesn't mean a lot, for the school, it means a lot, but for yourself and money wise and draft stock, I get it. But now what do you got left? And Peyton Thorne, your quarterback, he's still the guy. He knows how's to run this offense. Still has his receivers, defense still intact, and their backup running back, forget his name, but he's pretty solid running back. He's the guy of the future. So I got to roll with Michigan State here, just because Pitt, has 2 possibly new quarterbacks that might be playing in this game that have only attempted 18 passes this year.
Yeah, first of all, this right here is why we need the 12-team playoff. Everyone says we don't want the bowl games to mean nothing. Well, they already kind of do, to be honest. You have Pitt and Michigan State. Well, in my opinion, Pitt maybe wins 5 or 6 games if Pickett isn't there. I think Michigan State, you could say the same thing with Kenneth Walker. Now they're both not playing. So, in my opinion, basically you have 2 6-6 teams going at it without their best players. So, not the game that we expected here in a New Year's Six bowl, kind of a dud of a game. But I think Michigan State has more that they can bring to the table without their best player. They still have Peyton Thorne, who can hold his own at quarterback. They still have Jaden Reed. a really good wide receiver. Pittsburgh just not going to have enough. They lost to Western, first of all, so got to
Right.
take that into account. And yeah, without Kenny Pickett, I don't think Pitt is going to have enough in this game.
In the last game for this video, we got Wisconsin, Arizona State, and the Las Vegas Bowl. And I think Braden Allen, he's only a freshman this year, but he's been a huge part of this Wisconsin turnaround since they started 1-3. And I expect him, to get the ball even more probably than he's averaged per game. Just, run him until you can't anymore. And I think that's what Wisconsin's going to do. And they're going to get the win in this game.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin had a lot of momentum going into the head-scratching loss to Minnesota, but outside of that, I think they were definitely playing like a ranked team all year after their 1-3 start. Arizona State, they don't really have a, win that you can hang your hat on this year. So I think Wisconsin is definitely the better team, and I think Braylon Allen is just going to run the ball down their throat like he's done to a lot of teams. And I don't think Arizona State's going to be able to stop it enough. So I'm going with Wisconsin.
And that'll be it for our video today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you guys get notified when we drop our other 5 New Year's 6 game bowl prediction and possibly even championship predictions as well. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.